Hi everyone. In a previous video, we set up a Zoom account. We downloaded the Zoom plugin for your desktop. We started a Zoom meeting and we invited guests to that meeting that was already in progress. In this video, we're going to discuss 3 different ways to schedule future meetings. And we're going to send invitations to those meetings, and we're also going to look at how we can improve security so you don't get unwanted guests into your meetings. So first of all, let's go with the plugin. If you followed the previous video, you should have a plugin icon on your desktop. Double click that and it opens the plugin. In the previous video, we went to new meetings to set up a meeting immediately. Here we're going to schedule a future meeting. So click on the schedule button and you get a form. The form has a number of fields that you'll have to fill out. One of them is a topic. You want to make sure you get a topic that means something to you in the future. You want to start the date. You can start the time and start the duration. Now, if you have a free account, you're only going to be able to go to 40 minutes before you'll be cut off. Unless you have one-on-one. If you have one person that you're calling and chatting with, you can go on forever that way. And if you have a paid account, you can go on for as long as you'd like. In my case, I've got a free account. We'll just leave this at 30 minutes. You can set up a reoccurring meeting. In that case, you can set up as many different meetings as you want if they're all occurring at the same time. As far as the meeting ID goes, you'll probably want to generate IDs automatically. What that does is it changes the ID of each meeting, and that means that it's going to be much, much harder for other people to run across your personal meeting ID and use that to get into all of your meetings. So keep it at generate automatically. You can set up a password. If you have a number of guests that are coming, you may want a password so that it helps to eliminate unwanted guests again. You can set up the videos on and off. This is kind of personal preference. I like my videos on. A lot of people like to start their meetings with the video off. Make sure that they're ready before their video goes on. You can set up the audio for telephone, computer, or both. If you have a paid account, people can call in by telephone. If you have a free account, they have to use their computer. I like to keep them both on. You can set up this meeting in your calendar. If you have a Microsoft Outlook calendar or a Google calendar or other calendars, you can add that to your calendar. Advanced options. Enable waiting room down here means that you can set up a separate room for the meeting. And when guests call in, they go to this waiting room. You can see who's in the waiting room. And if you see somebody in there that shouldn't be in there for some reason, they've hacked the meeting, you can just refuse to let them into the regular meeting. Or you can enable join before host, and what that does is allows people to join the meeting before you get on. It's sort of just the opposite of the waiting room. You can mute participants before they enter. If you have a lot of people coming to your meeting, this might be a good way to keep things quiet until you can start the meeting and organize it. If it's only a few people, you may not want to mute the participants. You may want to let them just talk to each other. You can automatically record each meeting. You can do this as a setup before the meeting starts, or you can start recording as you go along. This is very helpful if you're talking about things that you might want to go back and discuss at a later time, or make sure that if you've had a vote on something, it's recorded so everybody knows how the vote came out. Once you get all that set up, you can schedule a meeting. What that does is it brings up an invitation. This is the same kind of invitation as we saw in the previous video. It lists when the meeting is going to start, the URL for each meeting, password if you have a password, and you can copy that to your clipboard and email it to anyone you want to invite to the meeting. So that's how you set up a meeting. You can see when you do set up a meeting, it'll show up in the plugin so that you can keep track of the meetings that you're talking about. So that's one way to schedule a meeting and invite guests. But there are two other ways, and I'll briefly go over those as well. Let's go to the website and go to the zoom.us website. Here you can sign in, learned how to set up an account. You either did it separately through Zoom, through Google, or through Facebook. I did it through Google, so I'll click on my Google account, and you'll come to this window. No matter how you sign in, you'll end up in this window. Over on the left-hand side, you'll have different windows that you can go to. I think you'll probably come to the meeting window every time. You may come to the profile window, but for this video, we're going to talk about the meeting window. Here you can schedule a new meeting just like you would in the plugin. Here are meetings that I've scheduled and practiced with. And down at the bottom here, if you don't schedule a meeting through the website or don't schedule it through the plugin, you can actually download a Chrome extension or a Microsoft plugin and schedule it through your calendar. First of all, we'll go through the website and then I'll go through the calendar. Here, click schedule a meeting. This gives you the same form as you had in the plugin. So you'd fill in the same kind of information. I won't talk about this again, that we already just talked about it. You can rewind your video to see how all that information came out. Once you do schedule your meeting, you click save and you can copy an invitation and send this out in an email to as many guests as you'd like to send it to. Down at the bottom, if you decided you didn't want to send the invitation to this meeting, you can delete it. You can save this meeting as a template, which means all the settings are saved, and every time you want to start a new meeting, just click on the template. You can edit the meeting. If you made a mistake in one of the fields here, you can go back and edit it, or you can start that meeting. In this case, we won't send this meeting, it's just for practice, so I'm going to delete it. And that sends us back to the meetings page over here. And we want to go back here because I want to show you how to use the Chrome extension or the Microsoft plugin. Now, all you have to do is download that. It'll tell you how to connect the extension of the plugin to your calendar. I'm not going to go over that. It's pretty much straightforward. But what I will do is go to my calendar, and I set up a separate calendar for Zoom meetings. And in that calendar, let's set up a new meeting here. Click that. You would set it up in Google Calendar just like you would set up a normal event. We'll call this one Zoom meeting. You can set up the day, the time, add guests. I like to go down to the more options here, which gives you all that information together in one spot. So you can decide if you want that meeting then at say 10 a.m. You can add a location if you're setting up an event, but if you're setting up a Zoom meeting, you can just say make this a Zoom meeting and it sets up a URL. You can add guests and put in kind of information you want for yourself. Here, let's add a guest. We'll just add someone here and we'll say this meeting is set up for the right day and time. We'll say save. And then if you set it up to add a Zoom meeting, it will say, would you like to invite the guests that you've set up? You say yes or no, and it will send out an email with the URL in it to the guests so that they know when the meeting is and they can put them on their calendar as well. So I'm not going to send this because we're just practicing today, but that's how you would do it. Let's go over what we've done here. We've set up 3 different ways of scheduling a meeting. One is through the Zoom plugin, one is through the website, and one is by downloading a Chrome extension or Microsoft plugin for your calendar and setting it up directly through your calendar. I hope that is clear to everybody and you can follow this along and start setting up your own meetings. That's all I have for this video. Please stay safe and stay home. Thank you.